I played a very significant role in our housing production plan that we got through a couple of years ago, and that laid out some of the strategies that the city can use to address affordable housing citywide.
Right. Hi, my name is Camille Bartlett. Today we have with us Councillor Pete McGinn from Ward 2, running for re-election. Welcome.
Thank you, Camille.
So tell us a little bit about yourself for those who might not know you.
Sure, but before I do that, I'd just like to thank you and PAT for sponsoring and organizing these candidate interviews. It's a very important thing, I think, to get information out there to the voters. A little bit about me, personal, educational, and professional experience. I'm a lifelong resident of Peabody in Ward 2, proud graduate of Peabody Veterans Memorial High School, class of '81. I've got 2 engineering degrees, an undergraduate degree from University of Vermont and a graduate degree from the University of Massachusetts at Lowell. I've got 37 years, in excess of 37 years actually, business experience, really directly applicable to the work of the council, and that includes budget development, contract negotiations, and general management. Really the best part of my life is my 34-year marriage to my wonderful wife, Jeanette, and we raised our 4 children, Anna, Morris, Daniel, and Lydia, right here in Ward 2. Been very active in the community in a number of ways, and just really would like to thank the voters. I'm very grateful for the support that I've had from the voters of Ward 2 for electing me as their ward councillor for these past 5 terms.
Great. How long is the term for those who might not know?
The term is 2 years.
Okay,
right?
2 years.
So I'm in my 10th year.
So you're always in re-election mode, probably.
Pretty much, yes.
So what motivates you to keep running?
Yeah, I really enjoy it. The minute I stop enjoying it, I'll stop running. But I have, long before I was on the council, I was a council watcher. The issues that go before the council have always interested me, and since it's just grown deeper and stronger since I've been on the council. I really enjoy the work, so that's what motivates me.
Mm-hmm. What committees do you serve on currently? Currently
on the Finance Committee. I'm the chair of Finance. I have been for the last 4 years. It's as you I'm sure are aware, it's everything significant needs to go through finance, so very proud of the work that we've done there to vet the various financial matters that come before the city, and really that is the major work that happens before that committee is the budget, which is a huge undertaking, and tax classification, which happens at the end of the year. I'm also on legal affairs. I'm a past chair of legal affairs. I'm on industrial and community development, and I'm on the chair of the ad hoc committee on the golf course and the skating rink, and I also chair the ad hoc committee on energy efficiency and alternate energy. So
it's quite a lot.
I've got a lot on my plate, but again, they're all things that have high interest to me and that I tend to get involved with at the very detailed level. Kind of plays with what I've done over the course of my career. When you think about legal affairs, and I do work a lot of contract review and contract negotiation, it's not a foreign issue to me to get into the nitty-gritty details of things that happen in legal affairs or zoning matters that come before industrial and community development. It all kind of plays to my strengths in terms of my work experience.
I didn't realize there was an alternative energy committee.
Yes, and we are close to achieving green community status for the city. It's something that has been bandied about for probably too long, frankly. But since I've been chair, we've moved that along further and faster than it previously happens. There's 5 criteria to become green communities. Just without getting in too deep into the weeds on that, we have satisfied 3 of the 5 criteria. This week, actually, we've got a legal affairs meeting we're going to take up the stretch code, which is a building code issue that needs to be adopted as one of the criteria. So that would satisfy the 5th criteria, actually. And then criteria 3, we still got some work to do there, but the community development has engaged a consultant to help us put the plan together that's needed to satisfy the second half of the 3rd criteria. So we're getting very close, as we've got a kind of a full court press going in hopes that we will be able to become a green community by the end of the year, and that would enable us to participate in some rounds of grant funding that are available from the state. So there's some money on the line that will benefit the city if we can achieve this status. And that's all
tremendous.
Happening as a result of the work that's been done in the committee, and that we've coordinated with primarily community development to oversee that as far as the staffing.
Very important work. Yeah,
I believe
that's
you're right.
terrific. I'm glad there's a committee like that. I didn't know. So hopefully our viewers will learn something new. If you picked 1 or 2 issues to tackle in your next term, what would they be?
Yeah, well, I'm certainly proud of the accomplishments that we've had here over the past 5 terms, and I certainly don't take full responsibility for achieving them, but I certainly played a role in several of them. The Wells School renovation is ongoing. I've been on the Wells School Building Committee since 2018. That's chaired by the school committee member Beverly Ann Griffin-Dunn. She's done an outstanding job with that. Ryan Melville, who's Councillor at Large, is on that committee. He's also an abutter to the Wells School, so he has a very first-hand knowledge of what's going on over there. But the Wells School is where the majority of the Ward 2 students go for their elementary education, and it's been, really needing an uplift for a very long time. This is a $34 million project that is really going to extend the life of the building by potentially more than 50 years. It's really come along well. I've toured it not long ago. The parts that are done look like a brand new building, and we're on schedule to have that finished up by the end of the year. So it's really come a long way, but it's been a long journey starting in 2018. Proud of my engagement with residents to assist with constituent services and to also make sure that Ward 2 gets its fair share of city services. Just as an example of that, often people say, "Oh, my street never gets paved." In Ward 2, I've been worked very hard with the administration over the years, and as of this year, 62 of Ward 2 streets have been resurfaced since I've been in office. That's out of a total of 118 streets, so over half. Wow. I feel very good about that, and again, that's in working very closely with the administration and to get things prioritized. We're an older part of the city where things have maybe deteriorated a little bit more than what we've seen elsewhere in the city, and so sometimes you need to push a little harder as Ward 2 councillor. Very proud of the accomplishment with the open space acquisition of the DiBiase property. That's an 80-acre open space acquisition. That's the biggest acquisition since Brooksby Farm. It's of strategic importance, I believe, because of its proximity to the other open space, the golf course, the O'Connor Park, the cemetery, the Spring Pond water supply. It's all adjacent to those 80 acres. 40 of those 80 acres are in Ward 2, so I was involved in that process from the very beginning and throughout, and delighted to say that in July that wrapped up, and the city now owns that property. We've preserved 284 units of affordable housing in the Tannery 1. That happened a few years ago. I was very involved at all stages of that process. A lot going on in the downtown, always is. I'm proud of the role that I've played in that and helping to create an environment with the property owners, the business owners, the main streets, other stakeholders to help create an environment that brings on some of these new things. I walked past a couple of them on the way down here today. The pots that's there. The Children's Museum has obviously been a great success. You're very familiar with that, I know, from the get-go. And just it's really become what we hoped it would be, an anchor for the downtown. I know, not based on a lot of data, but at least from talking to business owners in the area, that it has had been helpful to them in an uplift in their business. For example, at Brothers across the street, for sure, they've told me they're seeing more traffic coming in. So that's just great. That's what we hoped for. Right over here, the renovation of 2 Washington Street is nearing completion. That's one of the most historically and architecturally significant buildings in the city. And I'm just so delighted. It was a long journey to get there. I was involved in all of it, but we're there. The Central Street Tip project is a $20 million redo of that entire corridor. That's going to be playing out over the next 2 construction seasons, so it's starting now. But I'm sad to say that it's going to get worse before it gets better. But when it's done, I think the residents are going to be very pleased with the changes to that corridor. This is a complete overhaul, and it's going to look great when it's done.
Can I touch upon, you mentioned, the tannery apartments, that was saving some affordable housing.
Yes, it was, yep.
So are there any plans for any other projects in the downtown area for affordable housing at all, or any additional housing? I don't know what's on the
Yeah, I mean, as they
horizon.
come forward, I look at those on their merits. There are no new projects that have come on to my radar screen specifically in the downtown. I played a very significant role in our housing production plan that we got through a couple of years ago, and that laid out some of the strategies that the city can use to kind of address affordable housing citywide. And having that in place has actually helped provide Peabody with safe harbor status, so that we can have more of a say in what happens, rather than having others kind of come in and dictate what gets done, which is kind of an unpleasant side of affordable housing, when 40B gets thrust upon neighbors. That there tends to be a lot of pushback. So it's great that when Peabody can be in more of a position to kind of navigate their way into affordable housing. But I think the city historically has done great things for housing over the years. I mean, we are truly, in the truest sense of the word, a gateway community. We've been welcoming immigrants to Peabody as for decades, and so there's nothing new. Some housing advocates would refer to it as small a affordable housing, because some of it doesn't count on our inventory. So there's capital A affordable housing, which counts on the SHI, and the small a. Peabody's got a tremendous amount of small a affordable housing that we aren't going to technically get credit for, but we should take comfort in the fact that we know we're doing our part to help people through the housing issues that are kind of prevalent in the community today.
Exactly.
Statewide and nationally. Getting back to your original question in terms of forward-looking challenges, really one of the biggest ones that I see is what's going to happen with Rousselot in light of the announced closure of that facility, which is scheduled to happen at the end of the year. I engaged with the mayor and others on that very early on, right after we heard. We formed a group and have met to kind of help figure out what the strategy would be to work with Rousselot. We've met with Rousselot, including representatives of their parent company, Darling Ingredients. It's multinational companies. It's just a very large scale. When you try to put it in perspective, it's 330 acres. And a very significant portion of that is in Ward 2. The golf course is 90 plus acres they own. A portion of the golf course, the property, the industrially developed and open space land that's along the Washington Street corridor. They have lots of people drive by every day, is owned by Rousselot. And there's lots of land that extends across the railroad tracks into Ward 4 and then further down into South Peabody and into Ward 1. But a very large percentage of that 330 acres is in Ward 2. And in terms of challenges over the next term, that would be very much on the top of my list, to work closely with the administration to navigate our way through all that. It's a complex relationship because of their ownership of some of the land on the golf course. Obviously, the city runs that golf course. They are a major customer of the water and sewer enterprise, so we're going to lose, already have planned to lose $3 million annually in specifically sewer revenue from the South Essex Sewage District, and we've already had to adjust our water and sewer rates to take that into consideration. So yeah, it's a very involved arrangement, and I think my experience over the years working for large corporations, dealing with large corporations, will be helpful in terms of dealing with what we have. Rousselot is, as I said, their parent company, Darling Ingredients. It's a $6.5 billion multinational corporation. So that doesn't faze me, particularly because I've dealt with large corporations over the course of my career. And I think in working again with the administration, I can be quite helpful.
Well, it sounds like you have lots of work to finish. And before we wrap up, it's been a quick 15 minutes. Where can people find you?
Sure. I do have a Facebook page, Elect Pete McGinn. I tend to use more traditional ways of communicating with constituents. Email is great, and telephone is great, and also in person. I think it surprises some people sometimes when they'll send me an email or give me a call and I show up on their doorstep, just because I just find that certain things through social media and so forth, they lose something in the translation, and sometimes there can be a combative tone all too often sometimes, and I just think it can be much more productive to talk to people directly. So I try to do that as much as I possibly can.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Camille. Appreciate your time.